Every day, aspiring musicians dream of getting out of their garages and taking their songs on the road for the world to hear. But not everyone's successful at making a living as a gigging musician. There's a right way and a wrong way to navigate the music business, and whether you're looking to book your first gig or plotting an extensive world tour, this show will help you demystify the live music industry by providing first-hand insights from artists and professionals who are doing it at the highest levels. Hey there, I'm Tony Neely, and this is the Book Your Band Podcast. Hey there, folks. Welcome to the very first episode of the Book Your Band Podcast, the show that helps demystify the live music industry so musicians can get out of their garages and onto the stage. Tony Neely here, and for today's episode, we are joined by artist, producer, and talent development consultant Matt Adler. In our conversation, Matt shares how he went from being a teenager playing guitar in a church praise band to booking over 125 gigs a year, touring with major label artists such as Grammy award-winning Casting Crowns, and even having one of his guitar heroes play on his last album. Throughout our discussion, Matt also talks about how community has been key to his success as a touring musician, the importance of creating thematic content for social media, playing for Serial, and a host of other experiences from his life as a Texas indie rocker. So without further ado, let's dive into my conversation with Matt Adler. All right, we are here with artist, producer, and talent development consultant Matt Adler. Matt, thanks so much for being the very first guest on the Book Your Band podcast.
Nice, let's go. Thanks for having me, Tony.
Boom. All right, so let's start out. Can you tell us how you got into music in the first place?
I mean, that's a really long story. So neither of my parents were professional musicians or anything like that, but my dad is an avid listener. As you know, you've seen his music room.
We should also sidebar here and say, full transparency, I used to be the bass player in Matt's band for several years, and we were best friends, and so he was by far the easiest choice to have as the first guest on the podcast. So yes, I've met his dad. And I would say he is a die-hard music nerd.
Oh, absolutely. And so I would say that at the very least, my musical tastes were formed based on mixtapes that he would assemble for like family road trips. And which is funny, you'll sidebar, but he made a mixtape of all songs by America and Badfinger.
Okay.
So for years, I didn't know who did what. Like, I was like, oh, Day After Day, that's that America song, right? No, that's Badfinger. Dang it. All right.
It's really funny how like road trips with your parents really form your early musical identity, because my wife, Andy, she still associates road trips with listening to Delta Dawn by Tanya Tucker. And for me, it's the Beatles' Past Masters, just like listening to the Beatles going down the road with my dad.
Oh, I love that so much. Similarly, me and my wife, every time we pass Trinidad, Colorado, and we're heading west, we always now, it's become a tradition, we listen to the B-side of Abbey Road.
Nice.
Yeah, so avid music listener, and so I was exposed to a lot of different styles of music. When I was 7, my grandpa offered to give me a guitar, and I thought that was really cool. But the only stipulation was like, okay, don't tell any of your cousins, but I'm going to give you a guitar. And so, of course, I immediately went and told my cousins.
Tell the cousins, yeah.
And I didn't get the guitar. He actually did the thing that he said he would. And so I waited another year. So I started playing guitar at 8, which I hate to say what I'm about to say, but that's officially 30 years ago. So I've been playing guitar for 30 years.
We're old, dude. We're old.
We're very old. And I'll always be older than you, but I'll always look better.
True.
So it is.
True.
It is what it is. So So from listening to just dabbling and playing at 8, I did this cool thing where I went through overnight puberty in middle school, and I turned into this when I was like 13. And so when I was 14, I joined a band of a bunch of like late 20s guys. And it was a band at a church, so we were doing all of the old school like youth group, late 90s, early 2000s, like church songs and stuff like that. And actually, it's funny. I started playing guitar at 8. I started singing for the first time around 14. And I would legitimately say it took 8 to 10 years before I was ever really comfortable in my voice. But it's funny, the first gig I ever played, I was with that church band when I was like 14, 15 years old at the time. And the lead singer was like, I'm taking my girlfriend to see Coldplay in Austin. Can you lead this thing? And I was like, sure. And it was like, there were like 500 people there. I had never sung before. And it didn't go great because, like I said, I didn't really get comfortable singing for several years after that. So even though, I'm sure we'll talk about it as we go along. Like I've paid my dues, I've played my share, as you have participated in it at some level, of rough gigs. But my very first gig that I led was 500 people on a big stage out like in a field. So
Nice. So when was your first gig as Matt Adler, not playing with the church, but your own like gig with a venue?
So that kind of a venue versus, okay, so like when I started sort of paying my dues and getting into the San Antonio, this is where I'm based out of. We haven't really said that, but I'm based out of San Antonio, Texas. Um, I would probably say I was 21, 22, early 20s, somewhere there. I was in a band called The Frenzy from like 18 to 20, 21, something like that. And then in my very early 20s, I started gigging. And, one of the things you asked me to sort of think about as we prepared for this conversation is, how even just the very basics of how to go out and get gigs. The way that I found and what worked for me and the way that I found to be most effective was, first of all, when you get started, you're probably not going to get the epic venues right away. You're probably not going to be playing with the biggest artists right away and the coolest spots for all the money. Which, even if you're a really successful musician, all the money can also be tricky.
I tell people, you can be a full-time professional musician. You can't necessarily be a rock star. Like, there are plenty of people, you yourself done it, throughout college and stuff. That's how I paid the bills and stuff, playing gig after gig after gig. And we got some really cool opportunities. I know both of us, even before we launched, got together, we had played some really big shows. Neither of us are, the most viral trending stars or whatever, and people aren't like lining up for our autographs. But we got paid. We made money. So I think that's a good distinction, that there's a difference between being a rock star and being a professional live performing musician.
For sure. And, the thing that throws even an additional wrench into that gear is, like, if you want to be making a living playing nothing but original music, that can be hard too. It's doable. What was effective for me, I was a full-time musician for a decade, a little bit longer. And I had a lot of irons in the fire, right? So I gigged 125, 150 times a year. A lot of that was original music. We talked about that I was at my church. So like I've done worship leading opportunities. You come out and played camps and different things with me. But also as a record producer. And so my day-to-day 9 to 5 was producing records, but I would play the gigs. I've done quite a bit of vocal coaching. Guitar lessons are hard for me, really. Guitar lessons and coaching, but those were some more opportunities where I was able to make money. But I have so little patience for people that, like, you teach them a thing and then they don't do the thing, and then the next week they've ignored the thing, and then it's like, you know what? Why don't we just like record me giving you a lesson, and you go home and you listen to it again. You still pay me though, because I need the money. But yeah, so having a lot of irons in the fire was how I was able to make that work, and it was a lot of fun. Going back kind of to the original conversation then. So when I first started gigging and wanting to do it for real, the best thing I thought that I needed to do would be to engage in the sort of my local music scene, right? And it's going to come up over and over again. I know Tony's told everyone already this. It's going to keep coming up in subsequent conversations. And I'm going to bring it up 1,000 times today. It's all about relationships.
Yep.
And these are like real, authentic relationships where you're doing life together, you're encouraging each other, you're supporting each other. What I did that was effective, and again, this is not meant to direct somebody towards like manipulation of people. It's be kind, be a good person. So to get out into the community, to start finding, okay, who are the local musicians? Let me just go to their shows, go to people's shows, go to all the different venues, figure out your style and where it would be appropriate for you to play. Who are the artists that are doing things that are similar to what you're doing? Start developing and cultivating those relationships. They've got a new song coming out, share it, promote it. They have an album release party, share it, go to it. Um, it's all about give, lift up. And then when the time comes, it's like, hey, this person who knows me really well because I've been going to his or her concerts and supporting their career, I'm looking to book a show. Would you like to play on that bill? Start sharing bills. Start learning. Meeting venue owners. Right. Once you've really engaged in your local community, I started off doing the restaurants and background music and coffee shops and bookstores. Like, I didn't get a venue right away by any stretch. And then I started connecting and meeting with people, and somebody would ask me to sing background vocals because they start coming to your stuff too. And all of a sudden you've got a little bit of a network in addition to your friends and family. Um, and so as you grow, maybe somebody from out of town comes in, and all of a sudden you've connected with someone from Houston or from Dallas. And so slowly but surely and organically, if you're kind and you're lifting people up and you're just wanting what's best for others and doing your best to support them in their endeavors, as long as it's authentic and real, they'll return the favor. And all of a sudden you've really networked and you've started to grow sort of a solid base. And so that's how I started in my early 20s.
Excellent. Yeah. So you hit on several things there. You're absolutely correct. I always tell people when it comes to when you're a young musician who's looking to start booking, especially your first few gigs, it's social capital. It's what you know, it's who you know. Because like I said, you're not going to be starting out headlining giant venues with your name on the marquee. But if you build enough relationships and you get to know enough people, you will be invited in to maybe come. If they're having 3 openers, you might get that first 15 acoustic opening slot or something. And that's actually why I always encourage people, if you're brand new in a city or you're brand new to find every open mic night in town and show up.
Yeah.
Have 3 songs ready, hop up, be there, like you said, be the biggest fan for everybody else that's there, get their merch, sign up for their mailing list, follow them on social media, share their videos, share their events. And the more of those you do, people are like, oh, there's Tony or there's Matt. Yeah, I heard them at such and such open mic. They're actually really good. Well, hey, we're coming to San Antonio soon and we need somebody local to open. Well, I'm booked that night, but I know Matt is great. And kind of organic relationship. I like that you said that it's not about manipulation. It's about becoming ingrained into a local music community. And I know for you as a producer, that's where a lot of your businesses come from as well, right? Is just relationships you've built along the way.
It was a natural pivot, not even pivot, it's just an in addition to, right? Once I was ingrained in that community, I was recording my stuff. The first record I did with a local producer that's now a partner of mine named Mac Damon. He's really, really good at what he does. And but before that record I did with him in 2011, I produced all my own stuff. And after that 2011 record I did with him, once again, I produced all my own stuff. And so people would hear my stuff and like it. And I was just like, oh, well, I mean, I'll record you if you want. But what was cool is because I was so ingrained and a part of the local music community, it was just a lot of referrals and word of mouth. I did very little marketing to get that business off the ground. To your point, so this is kind of an extension of what you talked about, where somebody's maybe coming from out of town. I need an opener. Because a lot of times these artists that are coming from out of town are in the same spot as you, trying to get their career going, and they may not have a draw. Over time, as you connect with people in the music community, you start getting followers and fans and your family and your friends and all the things, right? They may need help filling out a bill. And so over time, again, as you become more plugged in, you may meet an artist from out of town. That turns into opportunities for gig exchanges, right? It's like, you're my buddy up in Grand Prairie in the DFW area, really good at what I'm thinking of a specific artist in particular. He's really good at what he does, but didn't really have a draw down here in San Antonio. And I didn't really have a draw up in the DFW area. So it's like, okay, let me support you, on one gig of a potential tour, right? at this point. And then, those two sort of cornerstone gigs where I headline and this guy opens, or in San Antonio, and then in Grand Prairie where I open and he headlines, and then figure out those in between spots. I didn't start off touring by any stretch. It was literally just take everything that I could get and go to all the things I could go to, right? Then it became, well, I'm going to do this little one and done, this little out and back, right? And then it turned into a week-long tour of four shows, and then 2 weeks, and that kind of thing. I would always base those on the money-making opportunities, right? So if I had like an opportunity to play for some kids up in Arlington, and that was going to, I was guaranteed, I don't know how much, but a good amount of money for that, right? So then I had to think, okay, well, that's going to be on Sunday night in Arlington. So between here and Arlington, what do I have? Do I have any contacts that I've met that I've created over the years? So it's like, oh, well, I'm going through Waco. Do I know anybody in Waco? Is there an open mic? Is there, I would take any gig like type that I could. Like, don't get me wrong, like playing at Common Grounds in Waco or Green Hall in Green is like super cool. I know that's regional. I know you're going to have, folks listening to this from outside of Texas, but those are two really cool regional venues. But at the end of the day, if I'm playing a church, if I'm playing two venues, and then it's like, okay, I'm going to be near Lubbock. What even is near Lubbock? I would literally go on Google and go, look.
Nothing is near Lubbock.
No things.
Desperation is near Lubbock. So, okay, anybody's listening from Lubbock, we love you.
Tony said it. I didn't say it. No, I'm just teasing. No, I always had a good time in Lubbock. And this one year, I don't think it's open anymore, but there was a cereal, like breakfast cereal, a cereal bar. And I was just like, I just need to make enough money to get gas and maybe a bite to eat. And so I would build these tours around the big money making opportunities. And then it's like, if I can just get expenses. And so that cereal bar, it was funny. I was shooting for $50 and I made $50 on the nose. And that just helped get me to, I think I was headed to Amarillo to do a thing. I don't know. But all that to say, over time, your network starts to spread and starts to expand, and you get these contacts in other cities. And once again, if you are just asking, so right, like if you're never giving, if you're never lifting up, if you're never supporting and encouraging and providing opportunities for others, people will very quickly go, well, this guy just showed up in my world. All he wants is for me to do things for him. Well, this guy's annoying, right? That's not real friendship. That's not real relationship. And so as you build real relationships, as you're kind, as you help lift up others, they will in turn provide opportunities for you too.
No, that's great. So you said at one point you were up to 125 to 150 gigs a year. How much of those were you independently booking versus working with promoters or booking agents? Because I know I'm going to have Greg Carnes on the show pretty soon.
Oh, yeah.
I know we did several shows with Greg Carnes. For those of you who don't know, Greg Carnes is a pretty well-known promoter in the contemporary Christian rock world. Promotes some really big shows. So which of those 125, 150 were you booking independently versus working with somebody like Greg or other talent buyers and promoters?
90 to 95% I booked myself.
Really?
So now and again, there would be an opportunity that, Greg would send, or there's a guy named Tim, and what's the name of his? Tim Robinson out in the Colorado area. And just random little things coming through. Like I've partnered a couple times with Compassion International to put on these concerts, like with Robbie C. and Bella Reeve. I think there's a poster behind me for that one. That one right there. But even that one, it was my show. I just partnered with Compassion to kind of put this event together. They provided, the bands. I connected with the church and promoted the concert. So 90 to 95%. Greg provided a bunch of great opportunities for me as far as opening up for some of the larger acts, the touring national acts that would pass through the region. And he was always very supportive of my music. He's a good dude. But independent artists are going to be doing that heavy lifting on their own.
Yeah. So you're playing your 125, 150 gigs a year. He said going either to camps or these larger paying ventures and trying to fill out along the way. How did you make the jump from doing something like that to doing arena tours, opening for bands like Casting Crown?
So that's relationships. Now it was very that was one of the Carnes opportunities, right?
Okay.
And I just met him because I was in that band when I was 14. Again, it's all about relationships. I was in this band when I was 14 with dudes in their late 20s. I was brought to a Delirious concert, who to this day still my favorite. Like,
Chef's kiss.
Yeah, I mean they're so
Stu
good.
G, if you're out there, we love you, buddy.
And Stu G played on that Collective Worship record up there. I'll never ever get over the fact that he played on an album of mine.
And didn't some of the guys from
legendary.
Crowns, after I left, didn't the bass player from Crowns play on that as well?
He did,
Yeah.
and the drummer. And
so if I'm getting replaced by the bass player for one of the biggest Christian bands in the world, yeah, I'm not too upset about it.
You would never have been replaced. You just moved away because you hate me. That's
Chad-
literally the reason, I'm sure.
Hey, I keep telling you, man, Chattanooga, it's a smaller Austin in the mountains where you can actually afford to live. So come on down and we can make music together again.
If you can get my entire family to move down, as well as my wife's, we're in.
I'll work on it.
But yeah, so I mean, just I had the guy who was the lead singer of the band. We went down and we did. We went to that Delirious concert. He introduced me. It's literally not about what you know. Like what you say. It's not about what you know. It's about who you know.
Yeah,
and it's true. As you start going out to things, you get introduced to people, and it's amazing to think that at 16 years old, I just went to a concert, was introduced to this guy, and he provided a bunch of great opportunities. And at the same time, it's like we supported each other. It wasn't just, hey, what can this guy do for me? It was, he put out a call because he was bringing in Colton Dixon to do an in-store. And he's like, I need a piano. And I was like, okay, I'll bring mine. So I threw it in my car and I went. Funny enough, he was going to all these Best Buys to do some in-store performances with a trio. And I just brought my piano. No charge or anything. Just, yeah, I'll help you. And so, yeah, that's just the kind of thing that you don't really think about it in the moment, but now as I look back, I realize, yeah, I mean, we just support each other as best we can, and good things always come if you just encourage and support other people.
So was it a similar, was it a great connection as well when you opened for Newsboys?
Yeah. It was. So he was a really instrumental person to getting me onto some of these bills with some of the larger Christian artists that would come through the area. As far as like secular artists, and again, I'm dating myself a little bit, but like I was a huge fan of the New Frontiers and Deus Vale and some of those like mid 2000s sort of like indie rock kind of like the Militia Group and even some of the Tooth and Nail stuff.
Yeah.
And so, I had an opportunity to share the
shout
stage
out to
with them.
Tooth and Nail.
That's right. And so I had an opportunity to share the stage with them because I connected locally. That was one of those gigging opportunities that was kind of following that same. I mean, all of it's relational, right? Mm-hmm. But just meeting people, meeting the venue owners, and then once you've kind of you've got these relationships, it's no longer weird if you were to reach out and go, "Hey, I see this thing is coming through. That would be a good fit. Do you have an opener for it yet?" Or the opposite will happen too. The venue owner will go, "Hey, you're very similar to this artist or this tour that's coming through. They don't have a super huge regional draw. Can you come support that bill? You can play on it, and if you bring your people, we'll give you some drink tickets. All the things, right?"
Yeah, we've had I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and technically I moved to Ringgold, but I still consider it Chattanooga. I'm an exit away from Chattanooga, but. So we've had the band that I play with here is an Americana trio called the Foothills, and we've had several similar instances where there's been a little bit larger of a band rolling through, and they would have like their tour manager or something would reach out to us and say, "We're coming through. We need somebody as a filler. Do you guys want to fill that spot?" Because I guess they can go online and see Chattanooga Americana artists, bluegrass artists, or whatever, and see what names come up. And so, yeah, sometimes it is the opposite of somebody reaching out to you just because your name's out there. I would say that's also a reason why, to get on a little bit more techie side, when you're doing something online, SEO matters.
Oh
like
yeah.
how you're tagging yourself with your website, what keywords you're using, stuff like that, because there are people that may not know to look for Matt Adler, but they may look producers in San Antonio, Texas, or talent development consultants or rock artists in San Antonio. And because of that, I'm sure your name would probably pop up towards the top.
Fun story. There is an actor on North Shore and on Flight of the Navigator named Matt Adler. I hate that guy. I'm just kidding. But he stole my Google traffic for a while. But I was very pleased to be able to advance, to move myself up onto the above the scroll, as I would maybe gain a little bit of exposure and tweak my SEO and add more content. Getting actual content is the best way for you to expand your SEO. So
okay, so let's talk about that. What kind of content? Because I know your thing has always been, don't half booty something. Like, if you're going to produce something, make sure it's high quality. Don't just be making content for content's sake. What kind of content are you creating that is helping you get that SEO return?
So what I always encourage from an artist development perspective, right? So I do produce records. I talk with artists all the time, and I tell them all the same thing. Where possible, if you're putting together a project, so I know right now it's tricky because it's a sort of a singles-based world, again, where people are just shooting out digital singles here and there. For me, I don't want to put out anything that doesn't have a purpose. And the most content I was able to generate, the most effective SEO strategy I've ever had, and the highest listenership of any record I ever put out was that one right there, the Collective Worship record, right? So a few things happened with that record. One, I didn't do it on my own, right? And I know that a lot of our records, it was me and you guys, so it was 5 of us, right? With the Collective Worship record, I believe 57 total people were involved, from songwriters to live performers to artwork to session players like Stu G and like all
so
of those
there's
guys.
already people to share it out to their communities. So collaboration.
Exactly. Now that wasn't really the intention, but that was a nice added benefit. But what I did was I had a 3 to 4 month straight just worth of content, because okay, so there's so much to unpack. I doubt we have enough time to do it, but essentially the record is, I think it's 12 songs. I don't know, it's some amount of songs. You could probably see it on there if you blow up the screen. And 4 of them were done live, and it was like 30 of us in a room, and it was all filmed. It was also very difficult to mix because everything was in every mic. That's totally unrelated, but it was tricky. So those 4 songs had live videos. So that's content, right? I did a video that was the whole story of Collective Worship. Why did I do it? How did I do it? Who was involved? What was the heart behind it? I had lyric videos made. So since it's a worship record, having lyric videos and putting out those resources for like churches and other worship leaders, that was another big piece. So right off the bat, I had 10 to 12 videos to publish. But then I also, you probably can't really see it on that wall there. It's not facing the camera, but I created a cork board and I put images of every single person who was involved and their name and in what capacity they were involved. And I shared it. The whole idea of it being collective was the basis for everything. So I thought, well, how can I convey that? And so I came up with the idea of creating just getting a map of the country and putting little pins in every city that people were involved in. So that was it was a cool thing for me to just reiterate. It's a collective thing. It's a group of people coming together to sing and to create, and look how, all these different places where people came from. And articles and reviews, I would try to partner with different websites to provide reviews and interviews. Some people came to me, some people I went out to them. And so I tried my best to put out a couple of pieces of content every week. And that's just outside of, since I produced the record, I had some unique insights into, hey, there's a really cool harmony here. I didn't realize, I didn't know how cool it was until I was like mixing it, and I realized it's a cappella right now. There's no music, and it sounds so cool. Here's what that sounds like. And so you may or may not have access to doing that in particular, but the whole A to Z premise was about the collective. So how can I support that concept? One of my favorite modern releases of the last decade, I think one of, if not my favorite album, is The Joy of Music by Ben Rector. And he did such a tremendous job of just conveying that joy and putting out content that just kept you engaged and interested. Plus the songs were like ridiculously good.
I mean, he's not like Taylor Swift level as far as his marketing abilities, but he is really, really good at taking a single concept, kind of like your collective, and being able to create a crap ton of content all based around that single thing. And it seems like that's the same thing that you were doing with the collective record.
Yes, it's what I tried to do, and so like with my clients, it's like, well, what ties these songs together? Like I have a one client, God bless him, just not that long ago released a song, and I was informed that it's like, yeah, and I've got 3 weeks worth of content ready to go out. And I was like, that's awesome, I'm excited, and every bit of content was, here's my album cover, listen to my record. Here's my album cover, listen to my record. And that doesn't cut it. It all needs to be different. It needs to be unique. Some people want to hear something. Some people want to see something. Some people want to read it. So you got to put out multiple different types of media. They don't want the same information. They want something different. Here's a song. Here's me playing it live. Here's a song story about why I wrote this song and what it means to me. And here's a little snippet of this part of the song that I like. And here's a video, all that type of thing. So, yeah.
I like that you mentioned that, because as I've been studying more digital marketing and stuff, and the way it's changed basically from 2020 through now, the COVID, and I don't know, are we technically post-COVID era?
I think we're in the COVID era now.
In the COVID era. But the big thing that they've been talking about for musicians, especially, one is don't just say, listen to my stuff, give them a story. People want insight into a story behind it, because I guess all that time of isolation, we rediscovered our love and passion for stories again. And second, something that you're hitting on is let people into the behind the scenes. It's one thing for people to see the final polished, hey, this looks amazing, but people want to see the warts and all behind the scenes, because that humanizes you. And when people see more of that human element, then they're more likely to feel like they can trust you, and along the way they're going to want to click on more of the content you create.
It's such an interesting thing that you say that. It's absolutely true, 100%. The human element, that you're not on a pedestal, you're not better than anybody, you're literally just a person trying to create and share and be vulnerable in that way. In contrast with that, what did you call it? You don't half booty it? I love how you said that.
We're gonna keep it G-rated around here.
Keep it G-rated.
Don't half booty things.
Don't half booty things. So I am absolutely, however, of the notion that you don't put out anything that, like, don't get me wrong, like a video of you just playing it live, warts and all, like, I think that's fantastic, and it's very real and authentic and relatable. But I also believe that if you're putting out, an album, right, do all you can to record it well, to have solid professional photos, to have solid professional artwork. And if you need to do less of a project so that you can do everything well, I encourage that. And I've talked myself out of money as a producer before, because it's like, well, we could do a full-length record, or you could do an EP, a 5-song EP, but pay the good photographer, pay the good graphic designer, pay the videographer to make a music video, like whatever. Because I have this production client who's got one of the best voices you'll ever hear, and he's a tremendous songwriter. And, the first single we ever did to me sounded incredible. And then when it was published, the cover was the cheesiest. Here I am just sitting against a wall kind of going, and it had like an Instagram filter on it, and the font was cheesy. And
buy some railroad tracks next to a brick wall.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if it looks bad, people will pass it up. They just will. If it sounds bad, they're not going to listen to the next thing, because, I mean, people are fickle. They move on so quickly to the next thing, because there's so much content and there's so much out there now.
Yeah. So you've been talking about all of this primarily from the perspective of somebody who has full albums, need to hire the good photographers, stuff like that. If you're a 15, 16-year-old who's written a few songs, you're wanting to start getting your name out there, you want to start making content. For somebody like that who has a zero, but has a hope, has dreams, has some songs, where would you suggest they start on this path towards not only getting content out, but also being able to start getting their foot in the door for some opening gigs?
Sure. No, absolutely. That's definitely a good question. I would say a lot of what I said still applies as far as connecting and meeting people. I We talked about how you might start at a restaurant. You might start at open mic nights. You might get a little 2 hour or 3 hour cover gig. That's the thing is like there are a couple of different options. Original gigs and cover gigs are very, very different. And the original gigs, those, especially at first, are probably not going to pay a whole lot. There is money in cover gigs. So if you get a really solid set and you can go to a burger joint that has live music on Thursdays or that kind of thing.
Brunches.
Yeah,
Brunches all the
absolutely.
time. They want
All the time.
They want music at brunches.
At farmers markets, I mean, we've talked about coffee shops, potentially bookstores, record stores, that kind of thing. You put out your tip jar and you raise money. I don't think there's anything wrong at all with performing just live to a camera and just putting music out into the world in that way. I do think that it causes more harm than good to put out a song officially onto Spotify that's an iPhone voice memo and has my friend does art, so they're just, and then and at the end it's like, because the first thing you put out a lot of times is going to be incredibly listened to because people have been waiting for it, right? And if the first thing you do is not at the level that's going to be attractional and is going to drive further listens, that becomes pretty tricky. And so I still do recommend go out, connect, grow your career, put out your tip jar, create some merch, even if it's cheap, something on Fiverr that looks decent, but you didn't have to pay too much. That way you can sell shirts or whatever kind of merch can help raise that money.
Stickers are cheap.
Say it again.
I was saying stickers are always a great place to start because you can get 1,000 stickers for like $25-$30, sell them for $1 or $2 each, or hand them out. I'm not supporting vandalism, but stick them on poles or something just so that it's easy. It's low-hanging fruit to start getting your name or your band out there.
That's absolutely right. And so over time, if you can make a couple $100 out of a tip jar, and because a lot of times these restaurants will have guarantees too. So it's like, okay, well, we need you for 4 hours and we'll pay $100. Okay, that's $25 an hour, not including setup. It's a decent little salary, but also with a tip jar, especially if you start growing the list of songs that you can do. And if people come up and ask you to do a song, they'll put money, they'll be thrilled to hear the song that they've asked for.
Yeah. So learn how to play Happy Birthday.
Oh,
people will
yes.
tip like crazy. Like it never fails. There's a place here in Chattanooga that there's in Nashville, stuff like that. It's a place called Puckett's. Cool little, normally they have country Americana bands and stuff, singer-songwriter, like in the nights while people have dinners. But there's always tourists who come in, and there's always that guy's like, hey, it's my third cousin's 19th birthday. I'll give you $40 to sing him happy birthday. It's like, dude, for $40, I will sing it in Russian. I don't care. Like for $40 to play happy birthday. So learn how to play happy birthday if you're playing those kinds of gigs.
And engaging with the people is really just doing the songs they ask for, but like, if somebody comes up to give you a tip, like it's funny, I'll stop singing and thank them because I still do those gigs, and they're fun, and they're also a good place that's no pressure to like work on your originals and figure out, how am I going to transition? How do I sing this song? How do I play it? Because you can throw in originals and it's not going to be a problem. But yeah, engaging with the people and seeing kid who's dancing with their parents, like engage them, jam out with them, like, you know, it's really fun. It's a sweet experience. There's low pressure and there's money to be made. So you start doing that, all of a sudden after a couple gigs you have enough money to record something at a high level. And so, yeah, back in the day, it used to be, well, you would just get a CD. Like, there was something cool about the bootleg CD that was just a CDR, and you just handed it out to people.
Yeah.
That's not really a thing anymore. Like, my car and my wife's car don't even have a CD player.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I took Avett to McKay's yesterday, and he found the Scooby-Doo soundtrack on CD. He was like, Daddy, this is my favorite music. And I was like, I don't even have a CD player. It's kind of like the Wayne's World thing. It's like, I don't even own a gun, let alone many guns, necessitating the use of the rack. I'm like, we don't have a CD player. I'll play it on Spotify for you. Which does make me ask, going back to the merch stuff, you're putting out records, you're working with, producing others. Where do you stand on the creation of physical copies of albums? I mean, obviously I know vinyl's everywhere right now, but it's super expensive to make. Are you still encouraging the artists that you work with to actually manufacture physical CDs?
Less and less. Pretty much no, actually, if I can be honest. There's a couple of artists in a couple of different genres that I still think, I do feel that if you're playing at some more, like, again, this kind of goes back to the Christian artists, right? But if you're playing at some old school churches, they probably still have CD players.
Yeah.
If you're playing to
and they'll buy a bunch from you.
Yeah, they're very generous. If you're playing to people that are under 40 consistently, they're not listening to CDs. They absolutely are listening to vinyl. And they were doing some sort of interesting, affordable, short run. I don't know if it was vinyl on demand, but it might have been like short run for a reasonable price at Bandcamp. But I don't know that they're still doing it anymore.
Yeah, so the way that the Bandcamp thing works is you set up with them, and it's almost like a GoFundMe. Once you get to X number of albums pre-sold, then they will send it to print, and then you get a certain percentage off the sales. But you do have to get X number. To do a basic run of 100 records, just standard, not even like 180 gram records, sleeve, all that. You're looking at about $1,500 to $1,750 right now to get your foot in the door. And you're looking at like an 8 to 12 week lead time if you can get them that quickly. So
yeah,
definitely, I don't think
you got to remember too, you have to get your music mastered completely differently for vinyl. And so you can't just take what you've already done necessarily, unless it's like you and an acoustic guitar. It probably would work.
Yeah.
But if there's any significant amount of bass, and if somebody's hit you against a brick, exactly, I hate those guys.
We ruin everything.
But like, and also if like your music has hit like a brick wall limiter, it doesn't translate to vinyl. You have to get it remastered from the original mixes. But that being said, if there's a way to do vinyl and it makes sense with the style of music that you're doing, and maybe you could do like a crowdfunded kind of thing. When I put out my rearranged record back in 2011, it was before Kickstarter. I had a PayPal account, and so I created a very similar page to like a Kickstarter, and I went, okay, pre-orders, album is coming. For $10 you get the album. For $20 you get the album and you get it early, and for $40 you get those two things plus a shirt, and then you get one of these and one of those. And like this thing on the wall was the CD, but before it was cut. And so like you could get, just weird things like that. Right. Now, obviously it's kind of different because I'm not giving people CDs anymore, but you got to think creatively. How could I give somebody something that they're interested in to help fund this early? Right. If you want access to the music first, or maybe I think I did an album listening party at the studio where it was recorded, or, just think through the things that you could offer at those different tier levels, because you'd be surprised. I'd also encourage you to do the highest, a tier level higher than you ever would have expected. Because when I published that on social media, I had 2 people do I don't remember how, maybe $250 tier. I never imagined that I would get that level of support. Most people did the $10 and $20 tier, but I had a couple of people at the $250, and so all of that finished funding the record. So it's also possible to do something like that to fund the vinyl run. It's definitely just something to think about.
Yeah. So, EPKs.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what you said, shows you've booked and stuff have been based off relationships. I know that you did a video EPK because I was part of that. It's a great album, great video. Had a good time recording it. Do you have an EPK that you are still sending out to venues when you're looking to book, or are you just doing cold calls or relationship calls right now?
Oh no! I have the EPK. It's not come into use as much these days as it did when it was first released. But I've had one since probably 14, 15 years. And so way back when, it was kind of, I say way back when, what is that, like 2009? It was right on the verge of like going from printed media. We were in a band at a weird time because there's so few videos of us. Now there would be 10,000 videos because it was right on the cusp of smartphone proliferation and moving from physical media to digital, right? So I did have physical press kits, and I did send some of those out, but 99% of people, I sent them to mattadlermusic.com/EPK, and it had, I'd had a bio, it had promo photos at full resolution. It had media, so like if I had any reviews or things like that. It had, the video EPK, the Who We Are video.
Yeah.
And that's funny because I never published that anywhere. Only venue owners ever were given that. And I think we've got a couple of thousand views on it. And literally every one of those views is a venue owner because it's not this public video that we've been sending. So it's incredibly important, especially now in the digital age, if you just send somebody to get all the information they'll need. I think I even had an empty concert poster that they could just take and write their address
Template,
on and print it out. Yeah, template. That's words are good.
So, words, all the words. So I, for anybody that's listening who doesn't know, EPK stands for Electronic Press Kit. When I played my first paying gig as a bassist at 12 years old. By the time I was 13, 14, I was playing in bars and venues and stuff with bands that literally I couldn't come through the front door. I had to come in through the back door, and I couldn't leave the stage because I was a kid. But back in those days, like, we would mail out physical press kits to venues. So I was playing a lot in Nashville, Knoxville, stuff like that at the time. And we would get a manila envelope, and we would send like copies of CDs and actually print out pictures and print out bios. And we would blindly send them to venues or drive around and drop them off at venues. And thankfully, some of the analog element of that's gone away, but we have moved to electronic press kits where all the things we used to physically mail or drop off, you can either put into, so it sounds like yours was and is kind of set up like a website where you can kind of click through. For the Foothills, the band that I'm playing with now, ours is set up as like a one pager. And so it has where you can click here to get our media release. Here you can click here to get various landscape full res pictures. Click here for portrait full res. Over here is our social media. Over here's reviews, stage plot. If you're going to book us, here's our stage plot. Stuff like that. So we kind of have ours set up as a single pager, but I always tell people, I'm like, when you're ready to move beyond the open mics, have some kind of EPK to send out to venues that you can send along saying, hey, I'm Jim Bob. I play acoustic music. I have a 30-minute set ready. Here's where you can check me out, rather than them having to go out and search for you, because if the venues happen to do the work to get to know who you are, they're not going to book you.
That's exactly right, 100%. And just to kind of to speak into that, the stage plot was incredibly important as well, especially as we grew what we did as a band. And so kind of to do what you did earlier, words. A stage plot is essentially a diagram of every spot on the stage, who's going to stand there, and what their technical needs are. So we toured quite a bit on our Stages record, and that was such an odd setup because it didn't really have a full drum kit. It had like I think it was an electronic kick and a couple of other pads for samples and a djembe that we mic'd in a way that sounded like a bass drop. And I don't even remember. I played glockenspiel up front for one song. You had a synth as well as your bass. And then Hernandez was just a keyboardist, whatever. He's not excited.
And we had Katie on cello. So
yeah, Katie playing cello. But it became tricky because it's like, okay, well, I play acoustic, I play electric, and I have a glockenspiel, and I need a vocal mic. And so basically my stage plot said, well, here's what we need at this location on the stage. Here's what we need over here. Here's what we need over here. And that was a really good point to have that in your EPK. The Who We Are video. So we essentially did a video EPK kind of thing and added it to our electronic press kit. And it literally is it's a video of us playing live, introducing the band, and then me kind of just talking through, well, here's what you can expect when you work with us. I'm really fortunate in that I had a bunch of guys and a girl like Tony. He's not the girl, but there was a girl in the band. You're very beautiful. Anyway, but they're all incredibly kind. They're very professional. We're always on time. Our gear is going to work, right? Things like that. It's just funny because that's not the norm. And so when we would prove that to the venues, we would get invited back just on account of they liked working with us.
My favorite line of yours from that whole thing is, "I'm never not early."
Double negative.
Double negative. But I mean, it's true. And, that's one of the things that when I'm working with young artists that are interested in getting into booking gigs and stuff, I tell them, be professional. There before your sound check. Don't noodle during your sound checks. Don't piss off the sound guy. Because
they're already pissed off.
They're already mad. They don't care who you are. Just show up and do your stuff so they can do their work. But that professionalism element of it, being able to say, yes, I am dependable. I'm going to communicate with you where I need to be. That does go a long way with venues and getting welcome back.
Absolutely. And the professionalism piece also applies to your set. Like, if you don't have your transitions worked out and there's awkward dead space, that could make it to where you might not get invited back, right? You need to know how to start on time, how to get from one song to the next, how to speak comfortably. And I know that a lot of people don't have that. But there's one thing, that can be endearing. Don't get me wrong. But like, particularly when you're going from track 1 to track 2, and it's kind of weird now because I'm not really talking about playing it like a restaurant as much as I'm talking about playing it like a venue when people are there to see a show. And all of a sudden it's awkward. They're looking at you. You're looking at them. You're changing your tuning and you're like, oh, wait, how does this one go? And then, so that's one of the things I mentioned earlier is when you're playing at some of these smaller gigs that have less pressure, really work some of that stuff out. Really figure out, okay, well, my 30-minute set is these songs, and these 3 songs work great because I don't need a capo. And then these 2 are capo 2, so I should put those next to each other, maybe. I don't know. I'm just pulling that out of my butt. But I do think that that's important.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the difference between practice and rehearsal. Practice, you are working on getting your songs, getting your parts down. By the time you're getting to rehearsal, actually getting ready for your tour, getting ready for your gigs, whatever, you're working on the layout of the show. You're crafting your set list. You're getting those transitions. You're knowing, here's where I'm going to introduce the band. Here's where I'm going to tell a story. Because if you are having this awkward start-stop, your audience is going to feel that. And so, like I've heard you say before, that ultimately our job is to entertain on stage, right? And so that means we need to have those quiet, sentimental moments. We need to have those big, epic moments. And if you don't have your show mapped out, then your audience isn't going to go on that journey with you. They're just going to feel like they're being pushed and pulled back and forth. If you're going fast song, slow song, changing capo every other song, switching guitar every song, you have to have that just the night's trajectory laid out. And I think that's something that I always really enjoyed about performing with you, was you weren't just thinking about song selection as far as, hey, what songs do we want to play? You were thinking about what did you want the crowd to experience when they came to one of our shows.
That's very kind. Thank you. That is important to me. What music makes me feel is so important, and I hope that I can convey that outwardly in the context of a show. You know, so that everything is just one fluid, like you said, it's like a journey, right? The songs belong together stylistically from a thematic perspective. Nothing is herky jerky. It just all flows. Everything has its place. And that really goes for like arrangements too. Like if you're in a band and everybody's playing all the things all the time, this is like the producer in me coming out. But if everybody, if at the end of every 4 bars, the electric's going, and the keyboard's just going, doing a lick, and the bassist is playing the lick, and the drummer's going, boom, and everybody's playing the same like 10 notes, nobody lives up here in the scale, nobody lives down here, it just becomes kind of a mess. And so just having an idea of where everything belongs, stay in your lane, don't draw attention to yourself until it's time. And everything having its own place within the context of the set, within the context of your arrangements, all of that is really important. That's its own podcast right there.
Yeah.
But it is.
Well,
fun.
I remember you and I had talked about it one time that from the production standpoint, whether it's studio or live, I don't even know if you remember this conversation we had. We said that it's a lot like putting together a recipe, like for a dish. You have to think through what ingredients need to go in, what order they need to go in, because if you put too much of one thing, not enough of one thing, you don't, fold it in correctly, whatever, then it's going to come out a complete mess and it's not going to be the dish you were wanting to serve. So taking the time ahead of time to think through, okay, I'm writing this song. I don't need to have 75 voices coming in at the beginning. Learn how to layer, learn how to allow your song to convey whatever emotion you want your listeners to feel. And the more somebody identifies with a song or with an album, and we're both album people.
Yeah.
The more you can identify with an album, the more likely you are to keep going back to it, keep sharing it, and show up and show up and see that band live, because you want to see if they can recreate that emotion live that you felt while listening to it.
Absolutely. And I think if there's a takeaway of this conversation, it's that in everything that you do, whether it's your arrangement, whether it's your set, whether it's relationship and building that up and connecting internally with your local and regional, music community and music scene, everything is about intentionality. Within the context of your arrangement, like, don't be afraid to just not play. Like if this is a piano thing, maybe the guitar just sits out. That's okay, right? Within the context of a set, being very intentional about, you don't want to do 6 songs in a row that punch people in the face with their energy, because they're going to be exhausted and you still have another half of your set to go to, right? Intentionality, being intentional about choosing, even when you don't feel like it, because maybe you're not doing this for a living. You've worked all week, but you know what? Thursday open mic night, I should probably go to that. Friday, Billy, whoever, Jenny, whatever is playing this gig, I should probably go out and see her or him. So it's really all about intentionality, I think.
I love it. I think the theme for this, and this is kind of a good transition point, the theme of our conversation has been, if you want to book gigs, if you want to be able to build out tours, build relationships and be intentional about how you're fostering and utilizing those relationships. So before we wrap up, last 2 things. One, every person comes on the show, I'm going to ask them, what is an album that has inspired you to keep growing as a musician?
As a musician, see, that's a different, oh man, put me on the spot. On the one hand, there are the albums like The Joy of Music, Ben Rector. That's an album, start to finish. There's no filler. It's beautifully produced. It's all related. It hits that nostalgia nerve of anybody from 30 to 50. It just does, in a way that I don't think ever experienced within the context of an album. But your question was an album that makes me want to grow as a musician. Oh my gosh, that's a tough one. One album that I've been really listening to a lot lately. What is the name of it? It's the light blue Snarky Puppy record with Lingus and all of that stuff. I know I'm on camera. Don't look. I'm just going to hold this phone down here, and no one will
It's okay.
ever
We're
notice.
very informal.
As well, we should be. Yeah, We Like It Here by Snarky Puppy. That album, it's 9 years old now. It has got some of the most unbelievable musicianship that I have ever heard. It grooves hard, but it also, I don't know, man. That's been my jam for a while when it comes to musicianship. So your question, I kind of gave you two answers, but those are my two right now.
I like it. All right. So as we're wrapping up, if somebody wanted to listen to your music, find out about booking you, find out about working with you in production or working with your talent development, where can we find you online?
Everything is Matt Adler Music. So mattadlermusic.com. Social media, Insta and Facebook are both at Matt Adler Music. I'm on Spotify. Look up Matt Adler and all the digital retailers that you could imagine. So yeah, please, let's connect. Thank you for having me, Tony. I miss your beard.
I miss your face. All right. Matt, thanks so much for being the very first guest on the Book Your Band podcast.
Likewise, my friend. Thanks for having me.
Bye,
Take
brother.
care, everyone.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Book Your Band podcast. If you enjoyed the show, I would sincerely appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button and share the show with some of your friends. To stay informed on upcoming episodes, be sure to sign up for the Book Your Band mailing list and also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. All those links are available at www.bookyourbandpodcast.com.